Last time, on Talora Tales, our heroes, the Ember Four, find themselves deep within the glade south of Messidore. They are on the contract of hunting down a particularly troublesome group of goblins. They formulated the plan or tagged along with the plan of guarding a caravan, hoping that the goblins that they are trying to hunt would ambush it and then they would be able to dispatch their inquiry. Sadly, though, their plan goes awry as the party is ambushed alternatively, and the people, or the creatures that were supposed to be on watch, found themselves caught unaware, leaving our heroes to be somewhat beaten, bloodied, and left in the dirt. Sven, having been kidnapped by the troublesome goblins, with the leader of the caravan that the party was traveling with, Lindis Carquin, are dragged off farther northwest into the wilderness of the glade as the rest of the party lick their wounds on the main road and prepare a rescue mission of sorts. A few days go by as our heroes travel west, following the clear tracks of Sven and Lindis being captured before finding the goblin home, hideout, dugout area that they have more or less claimed as their residence, being pretty heavily guarded, or at least guarded to the point that the goblins could manifest at this point. Through some mild scouting and some discussion of tactics, the group pretty handily disposed of the goblin menace outside of the cave before making their way inside and finding their companion Sven held hostage, for lack of a better term. The large goblin known as Big Z holding a knife between his teeth and threatening to end his life if the party pushes onward. That is precisely what then occurs as Braynoon makes an advance. Sven sacrifices himself to an extent, or at least uses his last breath, his fiery breath, to distract Big Z before his life is taken from him and he is cast down to the earth. Lindis takes this opportunity to rise from her false imprisonment and begin wailing on Big Z as well, as a scuffle of combat quickly begins to occur. It is rather brief, it is rather violent, and certainly rather bloody, but by the end of it, Sven lays dead on the ground. Thomas and Lindis find themselves knelt over the goop that now remains of Big Z, as Quinn stays persistently on watch outside of the cave, unaware of the horrors taking place inside. After recovering slightly, or at least moving through the shock of losing a companion, our heroes pull Sven's body from the cave and begin bringing him back east towards the main road. It is several days of travel back before the party crest a hill and spot their old and somewhat probably disgruntled guildmaster Camus alongside another rider that they are not immediately familiar with. As they grow closer, it is pretty easy to assume, or using the very bold context clues of the situation, that this gold dragonborn dressed in dragonkind, oh no, patent pending, who is dressed in this rather heavy, prominent armor, sees the corpse or the remains of Svenjamin and cries out in horror, the party easily assuming that this is the brother that Sven has probably alluded to in some way, shape, or form during his time with the party. It is a rather awkward but understood transaction as this new dragonkind enters into the small traveling group of our party. The remains of Sven are brought to the road. Camus kind of looks over you all with a bit of concern, kind of making sure that those of you who are still breathing are still fine, spotting that Thomas is rather severely injured, but leaving that be for the moment. It is probably the beginning of the evening of July 29th, as you all kind of return back to the wagons that you had pushed or hid off the side of the road, the now somewhat sizable collection of horses you have left to graze and lash the various carts and whatnot. The dead caravan guards or hands that had fallen during the initial ambush have been left, as far as you can tell, in the carts, they all being undisturbed as far as you could tell. I imagine the first real bit of interaction or conversation besides just this understood silence is Camus would direct his attention towards Braynoon, kind of waiting until he is somewhat away from the rest of the party, um, unless you would not separate as a party, I guess, is the question at this point. All right, I'll take.
Yeah, I mean, that's... I get a feeling that Brainian would get a read off Camus of what he was hoping to do, and so, like, it would clearly be a, hey, let's go find a spot where we are close enough to react if we need to, but yeah.
So, after everyone is settled to some extent, Camus would pull Braynoon off to the side, and he still is wearing the rather kind of mundane travel clothes that you had spotted him in or that he usually wears. He is wielding a weapon, which is about the only difference really in his appearance, besides the usual kind of look of annoyance on his face is now replaced with this kind of somber disappointment, I suppose might be the right word for it. His eyes are downcast a lot of the time. You can see that he's clearly working through or thinking through everything that is kind of being revealed to him as time goes on. But eventually, as you two alone, he'd turn over to you and... I knew it was going to be one of the schoolboys. What the fuck happened?
Hold on. I need to look at my notes. I need timelines.
A question for the rest of the party while I am saving you time.
There we go.
I'm imagining Primarch, you are with Sven's remains, wherever they end up. Thomas, would you be in a similar position, I assume?
It depends, what sort of interaction I've had with Primarch. If we've struck up any sort of conversation at this point, maybe. Otherwise, I'd probably be off by myself.
Okay. And then Quinn, is there anything specific you're doing during this time?
Sticking with Braynoon at the moment, I'm not sure what I know and don't know about what happened besides the fact that he's dead. So, just keeping the powder dry.
Okay.
Okay. So, answering back to his original question, 4 nights back, we were set upon. Lindis and Sven were on watch. No alarm was raised. The guardsmen were all killed. Sven and Lindis were taken. That's when Thomas broke the twig, as Quinn was down. I was not in the best of shape, but we managed to somehow hold out, and Thomas was able to get us back in the morning. We set after the trail that was left, came upon their camp a few days later. The big one, and I'll actually take the ear of Big Z just as kind of a size comparison, and had done quite a number on Sven before we arrived, and was using him as a bargaining chip. And I was pretty convinced Sven wasn't going to make it before we even began our assault. And Sven was killed, we completed the contract, and now we're back here.
So they are all dealt with.
I'll pull out some of the kids' ears.
He would almost kind of give them an approving nod. Like there is clearly some amount of, I guess, joy that he's like gets in seeing them. At least like a kind of strange, kind of dark enjoyment out of it, or maybe some sort of relief.
Approval.
Yeah. but nodding down at them. Well, I'm not too worried about you. Kind of looks over because Quinn, I guess you are hanging around the area. He'd give you an eye, and you gonna make it.
I'm
All right, yeah, okay.
I'm fine.
And he would start walking off towards wherever Thomas currently is, leaving you two alone. Thomas, we'll go ahead and say that you have found some isolation, some time to reflect or maybe just deal or cope or be away from kind of constant presence of other people, except perhaps maybe Mr. Sparkles. Wherever you do find yourself, Camus would come up to you and stand there long enough to make sure that his presence is known before he would kind of reach up and pat you on the back and, Thomas, I need you. Yeah, I need you.
Yes. How can I help you? It's
you're the smartest, clearly. Yeah. And obviously with all the dead and the wagons being left here and whatnot, I need you to perhaps redistribute the loads. You're good with numbers, I'm assuming. We don't want a broken wheel or a broken axle on our way back. Last thing we need. If you could do that for me.
I'm certainly capable of that, and if it needs doing, I'll be happy to. I see what you're trying to accomplish, and I appreciate it.
Well, all right.
But
Fine.
oh no, that's not me saying I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Are you
I'm fine.
this is your first time?
Losing someone that I loved, yes.
It doesn't get much easier.
I hope not.
Well, get the wagons organized. Tell me when you're done. Gotta go deal
Do you,
with.
do you want the center of gravity to be more in the middle, or would you like it to ride forward? So,
I'm sure that you can make the right decision, Thomas.
okay, forward it is. It'll make for better controllability.
Splendid. All right. So, Primarch, as you are with your departed brother, why don't you go ahead and describe at least a little bit of like what you've been doing, like maybe some of the interactions where you're currently at.
So Primarch, being very much in his own thoughts, was probably silent for most of the ride. No grunts as answers for the most part. Now that they've kind of settled down, he has Sven's body on the ground, wrapped in a bedroll, and for most of this time, he's simply been knelt down, whispering prayers in the hopes that it may change Svenjamin's afterlife outcome, given the pretty dismal aspect that he's expecting for his brother. But trying to give some hope. So he's just, knelt down, one fist against the ground on his knee, whispering in Celestial to himself as he prays over the body.
As you are knelt and kind of lost in your own respect or reverence or prayer, Camus would make his way over to you, doing the rounds, kind of maintaining a fair distance, not wanting to disturb or disrupt whatever ritual you are currently taking place in, kind of clearing his throat to get your attention before nodding his head down towards you. And I told you should have stayed back in Messidore. This is not, I imagine this is not easy for you.
The world is full of darkness. It is up to us to determine how we react.
One of those. Okay.
I thank you for your sympathies.
Sure. I want to put this as best as I can. From what I understood, Svenjamin was the odd one out of your family. Am I going to be getting angry letters from Papa Akubola?
Wear your words, Guildmaster. But to answer your question, Sven made many choices. Not all were in line with our ideology. This is a grave matter, but we knew who he was.
Well, whatever I can do to assist, let me know. All right, good talk. And then he would head off towards Lindis, who she has, as soon as kind of returning back to the carts, has reserved herself to the men wherever they have been laid to rest. She has been incredibly silent during a lot of this process, still dealing with the whole symphony of things that have occurred at this point. Whoever is around would hear Camus and her having a discussion back and forth, but not entirely relevant unless one of you is incredibly nosy. Yeah, I guess at this point, the question is, what is the party's direction or actions at this time? It is evening, with Camus kind of making it clear that you're going to make camp and stay here for the night before heading back to Messidori in the morning. So yeah, now it is up to whatever your intentions might be.
So, I mean, typical goings around of making camp. Brainer's probably going to spend some time casting mending on his tent. Since he hasn't really used it since the assault.
Mm-hmm.
At one point during the night, kind of once things have settled, you would see... So all of you have watched Braynoon journal throughout the last few weeks. It's a fairly common thing he does. But if you're paying any attention, you notice he pulls out a different notebook. It's much smaller and very old. And just, I mean, no real difference to his demeanor as he would normally be journaling, but just flips about halfway through the book, makes some short entries, and then puts the book away. And other than that, pretty much just a regular night at camp for Braynoon.
Yeah, and what I'm gonna do is I'll take Ben's old robes and I'll hem them up as best as I can, because he was taller than Thomas, right? Yeah. But I'll get them hemmed up as much as I can. Make a little slit in the back so that the tail can go through it nice and easy. And more or less that's his new robes.
Yeah, it is I guess worthwhile to remind ourselves that Thomas did take this first rather sizable blow, the 2 arrows sinking deep into his midsection. So your robes would have those 2 rather significant holes in them, which you could patch over yet again, but it is fitting that you have donned the robes of your fallen companion.
Yeah, the old robes would have been burned.
As evening turns to night, Camus would probably try and consolidate everyone as best as possible. Part of this process being placing Benjamin's remains in the back of one of the carts wherever Thomas has allotted space So I imagine at some point that would occur. And then watches would also be established with Camus kind of taking charge and making sure that each person is up and there are kind of crossovers and overlaps and things of that nature. He is clearly still thinking, like every conversation or bit of communication he has between you all, there's like his normal Camus demeanor, and then there's like a pause, and then he thinks better of it, and then continues to kind of dictate, like getting everyone organized. So unless there is anything specific through this night, we could more or less move on into the next morning.
There is something specific. So as the night winds down, before watches are taken over and everyone turns in, Primarch would join the rest of the group by the fire, and looking at each in turn, take a deep breath and I am sorry to meet you all under such conditions. I do not hold blame for any of you for this. Please understand. I appreciate the companionship you provided my brother these past, 2 months. I understand he was not the pinnacle of society for my kind. But I hope at least in the end, he did provide himself worthy of his bloodline.
His bloodline was his last word.
It is good to know he sought redemption then. I apologize for my silence on the ride. I should introduce myself formally. I am Primarch Sutek Akabola, eldest of the Sutek. Heir to the house, though, that is a discussion for another time. I was hoping perhaps you may be able to provide some tales of my brother. Though I understand some of his exploits may have been less than savory.
How well did you know your brother's proclivities?
Enough to know that, as his most recent concubine, you are deserving of his clothing. I bear no judgment. To each their own.
Do you know who I am?
The one who shared a room with him, are you not? That came with him.
As a student in a wizarding academy. Not as a concubine. I thought Benjamin was the dumbest one of the clan.
Debatable.
Apparently it is. Regardless, you asked for a story?
I would like to hear how he spent his time.
Doing drugs mostly. Whoring,
No surprises.
drinking, and otherwise being the most amazing friend I've ever had in my life. Of the completely not sexual variety. Do you know what a roommate is?
I've shared barracks with many.
Imagine a barrack that holds two people only, and you're studying together for 4 years. That's who Sven was to me before here.
I
Though
see.
I would never seek to supplant your place, he was very much a brother to me.
I must admit I was not much of a brother to him.
He talked of you. Often, actually.
I'm surprised.
It. He. I don't think he ever came out and said it, but I know he admired who you were. I think if he could have been, he would have wanted to be like you.
He was not a failure like I am.
What's the
I
matter with
promised
people?
I promised to protect him, even from himself.
Well,
I failed.
can you promise to not let your father die right now? Because you're not next to
No.
him. Okay, so how could you have failed without being with him? That's not how life works. You know that. If anybody failed to keep him alive, it was us that should have been with him. But anyway, um, he took me out to dinner, the first nice dinner I've ever had in my life.
As roommates.
And then, no, this was after we had joined the adventuring guild. He had won a couple's dinner for two. I know that sounds bad, given what you already think. But as he did not have anybody he wanted to bring in a romantic capacity, he invited me. And we went as friends, and it was a remarkable meal. And we had made plans to go out and get high and burn a lot of things. And we didn't do that.
You just hear Camus like muttering in his breath.
Yeah, just a kind of constant shaking of Brainerd's head.
Um,
It is good.
yeah.
He had a close companion then.
Anybody else?
Well, I only knew the lad for a few weeks, but in that time he was sure of himself and nearly everything he did, whether he should have been or not. And whether you believe it or not, he did have some care of what his family thought of him, and was making attempts to repair that relationship.
As far as I'm aware, this was the first time he ever earned his own coin, for what it's worth.
Well, he certainly did have an eye for gold.
As this conversation has been progressing, for those of you who are kind of keeping an eye about, which I imagine is most of you at this point, you would see Lindis kind of like slowly peeking her head out from the cart she's currently kind of secluded herself in, looking more and more hesitant to interject herself, but eventually at this point she just kind of slipped down from the wagon, approaching the group, kind of locking her attention mostly on Primarch. If anyone is to blame for your brother's death, it is my own, and I cannot express how much I owe your brother. He truly took the weight of our bad decision making.
What she means to say is that Big Z was about to kill her, and Svenjamin, at the last moment, diverted his attention and brought the focus of his wrath on Svenjamin instead of her. She's only alive because of the sacrifice he made.
Alive and, whole.
Then I hope you keep him in your prayers.
I don't think I will ever be able to repay him.
Then may you do good deeds in his memory. But maybe not the deeds he would perform himself.
You'd see Lindis like almost smile, and the smile like immediately falters, and there's this like convulsion of kind of a preemptive sob before she like quickly turns and then excuses herself back to the cart before you all, as the conversation kind of dies out, would hear her kind of gently weeping or trying to cover her weeping to the best of her ability in the back of the wagon.
I would be happy to take Svenjamin's duties as we head back to the city. Which watch was his?
The first.
I see.
Primarch, can I call you something else?
My companions often call me Mark.
Alright. Mark, we've been riding real hard. You're very distraught, though I don't think you show it all that well. How about you get some rest and take the last watch?
Primarch nods and acquiesce. Thank you.
Dwarf, you get first. Figure out the rest.
A grunt of acknowledgement.
Alright. Well, anything else before moving on to the next morning? Alright. I guess it is a point of just prodding the party, because we did add this in or address this kind of last minute. You do have those two bits of paper that you were unfamiliar with, though I imagine you could assume either through common knowledge or context clues that it is probably some sort of goblinoid or orcish or similar writing.
I probably would have shown those to Camus during the
The debrief.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so he will take those from you and tell you that he'd look him over, just so that is put on there. But all right. As the night goes by, and I'm sure we'll have to figure out a new watch rotation for the coming future. Eventually, the morning does dawn. It is a rather tranquil, and peaceful morning out in the glade. The somewhat nearby coastline kind of offering the low rising and receding, pulsating of the waves, the wind kind of dancing through the tall reeds off to the west, and eventually everyone is roused and prepared for the adventure back to Messidore, though it should hopefully be rather uneventful. Yeah, I guess unless there is anything specific you all are doing during this march back, we can start that process. So, probably on the second day, let me go ahead and move you all on the map so I can keep track of this. Put you there. Let me ask this question. What is everyone's kind of either position or routine as you travel? Are you on horseback? Are you in the carts? Are you beside a certain person? Are you doing a certain task? Paint me a vivid picture.
Well, I'm assuming the 6 horses we had used are
Mhm.
back on the carts,
Mhm.
leaving only the horses that Camus and Primarch had brought. So I'm
Mhm.
assuming most of us are probably driving a cart, since kind of limited on those options.
Oh shit! Right. How many carts are there? 4?
There's 3.
3.
Lindis would be driving the one that has her men in it. Camus would offer up his horse to basically anybody who wants it. He would offer to drive a cart as well. And then that just leaves a third unmanned.
I mean, Braynoon's probably more comfortable on a cart than on a horse, and
Mhm.
so he'd have no problem driving, something to
Mhm.
focus his mind and such.
Primarch would take point right in front, keep an eye out. Very watchful.
I'll probably hop in the cart with Camus, or not Camus, but with Braynoon, but in the back of the cart where I can.
Mhm.
I'll be poring over Sven's spellbook.
Okay. And Quinn?
Well, I'll ride a horse and use the mobility to basically kind of outride. And it's really just an excuse to get some space, but making a good show of keeping an eye on the perimeter as we travel.
Mhm. So after, again, about a day of travel, Camus would call out to you, Thomas, kind of requesting you to come sit on the, I guess, like the bench of the wagon that he is driving, which I imagine you would do.
Yeah.
Okay. So after he kind of like gets you settled in and the, I guess, caravan that you all are on continues forward, you would be quiet for a little while, clearly trying to think through what he wants to say, or at least how he wants to say it. But eventually, you'd... I've been thinking, Thomas. I got to report all this when we get back. Of course, it's not unexpected that adventurers, we die. That's kind of our fucking point. I'm curious if this is where you want to depart. If you want, I could speak to the head of our region and perhaps see your contract fulfilled so you can return to school.
No, quite the contrary. I was meaning to speak with you about extending the length of my contract if I could get a bonus of some small amount to enhance my spell book. I find myself a little short on cash, and we need. There's a few spells I'd like to add from Sven's book to mine, you see. And I'm not going anywhere.
Forgive me, I am not incredibly empathetic or good at these things. But
We're both learning.
Sure. Thomas, you clearly are not doing well. I have seen you slipping a little bit, and I think you are in shock. And I would advise you to perhaps think about what you want to do with your life instead of doubling or extending your contract.
I'm not going to try to convince you otherwise too strenuously, but some things were coming clear before this happened with Sven. As a matter of fact, I discussed it with him. The results of this action notwithstanding, I'm finding that I'm rather good at this line of work. And
kind of a
something,
shit claim after, you know.
well, if we want to go there, it all reflects on our boss now, doesn't it? Like you said, shit happens.
You are learning, Thomas.
Like I was saying, whether you think I'm good at it or not, one thing is indisputable. I like it. I like being here with a purpose. And I like being the instrument or one of the instruments that brings justice, retribution, and doom to these creatures that deserve it.
Sound like fucking Ava. Well, it's not my fucking place to tell you how to live your life. But when we get back, you did get a letter from, I think your family, perhaps.
And my face would brighten at that.
Just,
Really?
perhaps visualize what they might think if you tell them you are extending your visit here.
What they think matters to me, of course, but it won't determine anything. Why don't you... Let me ask you this. Why do you think I shouldn't keep doing this? It seems like you're trying to talk me out of it.
Give me an insight check.
Okay. 17.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. 19.
It's not incredibly difficult to read Camus. He's not putting a whole lot of effort into masking some of the tells within his various expressions, but you can kind of read this energy of guilt or regret kind of coming off of him. It is still very obviously manifesting in just kind of how his body posture to some extent and how he kind of presents himself. As you pose the question, he would look forward to the cart that is in front of you that holds Sven, and he kind of just stares past it for several long moments, clearly kind of losing himself in a little bit of distant memory before returning back to the present. I've seen enough young and excitable adventurers and wannabes end up where our previous companion has. There's been many groups before you, and there's been many companions before that. This line of work is not good. It's not fun. It's not fulfilling. It's shit. And we do it because we are shit people. And I don't think you're a shit person yet, but you very well could be if you continue.
Fine. We're sitting together. We've got nowhere to go. Explain to me what makes a shit person. How are you a shit person and I'm not yet? And how will I become one?
I'm not a bard, I'm not a poet, so excuse my lack of elegance. Normal fucking people don't leave their friends and their family to go die in the wilderness fighting creatures and evil and bullshit. We're all fucked up. All of us. And, I mean, you're a tiefling, you're already fucked up, but it sounds like at least you have some sort of unit that cares for you, some people that rely on you or want you by their side, but you're here next to me. Does that not put any sort of alarm in your head?
No. And look, I don't believe what you're saying is true. Because anyone who goes away towards any sort of dangerous occupation, whether it's a soldier, a sailor, or those of us who join adventuring guilds, or the like, death is an inherent risk. If everyone stayed at home with the people that cared about them, who would do this work?
You asked the difference between you and I, Thomas, and that is it. I'm here, I'm doing this work, and I'm gonna do this work until it fucking kills me. You can go the fuck home. There are plenty more broken people that can lead themselves to slaughter while you live a fulfilling life.
Look, in your time doing everything that you've done, have you lost somebody close to you? Your best friend?
You're playing a dangerous game, Thomas.
No, I'm playing an intellectual one. I don't need specifics, I need a yes or no, have you?
Of course.
And now so have I. And you're making a mistake thinking that I'm not broken. I don't know what broke you, if that's even a term that we should be using, but it's what broke me. I have no desire to go back home
Well,
and be comfortable
don't
and
fucking
safe.
die then.
Why not?
Because I'm tired of carrying you fuckers back in the cart.
Don't come get me then. Look, whether you admit it or not, it's clear that you're bearing some guilt for losing one of the young ones. And I'm sorry for that. That's your role. And you'll have to deal with that as you see fit. But how do you think I felt? There. Too late to save him. And thinking back to everything that we did, if we had just taken 10 minutes less time here, an hour less there, if I would have just cast this spell instead of stood there gawking, do you really think that you feel more guilt than I do right now?
I didn't claim to be racked with guilt.
So, being that I am racked with guilt, and you've been in this position presumably once or twice, here, I'll put it in Dwarven. How the fuck do I get over that? Because the only way I can see to get over it is to do my best to eradicate anyone who would do anything of the sort. And what better job to do it than this right here? Because back home with my sister, mending nets, catching fish, I don't get to do that anymore. So again, I want to extend, and I would like a small allowance. I'll pay it back if necessary to pay for the materials I'll need to write some of Finn's spells into my spell book. They're much more offensive than mine.
Oh, you're more fucking stubborn than I gave you credit for, but I'll leave you with this, because I'm fucking tired of circles. They're boring. People lie to themselves. That we're out here, heroes, doing good work, saving people, doing what's right. It's all bullshit. It's what the fucking recruiters tell you. Though, you came from a university or some shit, so... Anyway. No amount of killing fucking goblins or kobolds or whatever bullshit we are paid to kill next. It's not going to do a damn thing. It's not going to make you feel any better. It is going to slowly and surely ruin you until you're an old grumpy fuck like I am. And if that's what you want, fine. That is your choice. I'm just telling you the reality. All right, good talk.
No. Yeah. We can finish talking if you like, but... And I'll pull out Finn's flask out of his robe. I'll smell it just to make sure it is indeed liquor and nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll take a little small pull and cough a little more and pass it over to Camus. To grumpy, fucked, old and new.
Mm-hmm. Gotta take the flask, heavy swig, hand it back. Swear to God, Thomas, if you die next, I'll fucking kill you.
I'll allow it.
All right. So, I think that's about all the large events, I suppose, leading back to Macedonia, unless the group has some desire to do anything along the way. It is 2 more days back to the city. There could be a few different conversations or different tidying up that might want to be done. Yeah, I guess this would now be the time.
I would say probably on the road, Brainion's going through the motions, but that's about it.
Okay. I'll go ahead and loot scoot you guys a little bit closer to your destination. Let me go ahead and we'll go ahead and switch to that. As you are, the party has now been south of Macedonia and in the Glade a handful of times, especially in this kind of immediate area around Macedonia. So you're beginning to see familiar sights, familiar mountains, able to see the Dawn Tree out in the bay, just getting that bit of sense of home, whatever that means at this point for the group, which is somewhat pleasant, I suppose. Primarch taking the lead of the caravan, Quinn still keeping his distance and dealing with the fallout of the events in his own way. Camus would eventually have Thomas lead his cart before he would somber his ass up to Braynoon's cart and plop his ass down next to you and... Alright, dwarf, we gotta talk.
About?
How we feeling, Admiral, Captain, Team Leader?
It's not the first companion I've lost.
Are we
It's not.
trusting one another? Is this gonna be an issue? Should I relocate people?
I think that'd do more harm than good.
Thomas scares the fucking shit out of me.
As well he should.
Quinn's fucking shady as fuck.
Pretty sure we knew that from the beginning.
Well, it hasn't improved.
Did you want it to?
It'd be nice if I knew who the fuck he was and it wasn't just some smart comment every time, but I guess a bit of a fucking hypocrite anyway.
That's... Perhaps if you had more than one conversation with him every 3 weeks, that might happen.
I'm a busy man.
Perhaps you should let us in if you want us to let you in.
Jesus fucking
Like,
Christ.
how about that uniform I saw you in?
Now you're asking me about it.
Well, you know, you like to push buttons.
Fucking you fuckers. Okay, let's cut through the shit, dwarf. I just need to know that if I send you out on another contract, which isn't happening anytime soon, that you're not coming back wrapped in a goddamn bedroll again.
I mean, calling back to before we took this contract, I was trying to avoid the ones that posed immediate, imminent danger.
So have we learned a lesson?
I'm not sure it's me that had to learn a lesson. My hope is the other companions have, and if not, perhaps I'll take more of a leadership role instead of letting the group make decisions.
Well, therein lies my question. How are we feeling? Because I have to tell the shit people above me what the shits below me are doing.
The fact of the matter is, nobody could have foreseen what was going to happen.
Apparently fucking Thomas can.
Thomas is looking through everything through hindsight. He's a divination wizard. He thinks he has all the answers.
Hmm.
The fact of the matter is, each of us are going to make our own decisions. And I can hope with everything I have that they won't lead to a similar outcome. But I can't see the future.
Hmm.
I'll do everything I can to prevent that. But things are going to happen.
Maybe I should add a fourth rule. 3 doesn't seem to cover all of it, but we'll go ahead, 3.5. I'll have Ayla write it up. Fail the contract first, die second. Sound good?
I mean, pretty sure we've made that choice once before.
I'm reinforcing it, because now we have a dead one.
Well, and he was... I'm not sure the rule would have changed the outcome.
Yeah. Fuck. I got a visit from lovely Captain Brighthorn. Apparently you two have been becoming friends.
We have common goals.
Sometimes I wish you people would just fucking say shit.
In this case, I can't.
Or whatever it is, just don't do anything fucking stupid.
I'll do my best. That is one of the rules.
Alright, it's gonna be a lot once we get back. I think the dragon people, they burned them. So,
That's how my memory recalls.
yep, I guess we'll do that and pretend to be sad. We got to find a replacement.
There's a slight, like, cocking of the head at the pretend to be sad part.
I gotta debrief you and report, and we'll say 2 weeks, maybe a month. I'm gonna put you all on whatever the fuck, hold, leave, stay, don't do shit. Sound good?
I don't disagree with that, though probably would be a good idea to have some goals during that time.
I have a few. We'll see how they pan out. Well, Admiral Captain Team Leader, should I go check in with our scoundrel?
I want to say yes. I don't know how much he'll respond to. I almost think you need to do it when you can trap him and he can't get away.
Yeah, Elf and I have... we have some things to talk about. I'll leave it be. What do you think of fucking Goody Two-Shoes?
Just clarifying, make it. Who's he referring to? Right
Primarch.
now? Okay. Seems to be more akin to his kind than his brother was.
I don't know which one I prefer.
I'm not sure I can answer that question right now either. Do you have any idea what his intentions are?
Well, when he first showed up, he was apparently going to try and reason with Sven, though I imagine that would be rather difficult given his current state.
Honestly, it might be easier right now.
Fuck. I have no idea. I'll be somewhat blunt with you because leadership's kind of breaking down around here if you haven't really realized that yet. Dragonkind they're a lot. And I know that his daddy is a little much. That might be coming.
Well, that sounds like a mess for you.
Yeah, it does. Appreciate the sympathy. Well, hopefully he's out of our hair after we... What do you even call... You don't put them to rest, you burn them. I'm not... Sven, yeah. Well, I guess we'll see. But
You're really bad at this.
I
by the
am.
way.
I really am. Yeah. All right,
do
good
you
talk.
need from me in the next few weeks?
Overall, my reports that I've been getting from my reports from you, because, less the thread paperwork. The guild sees your placement here as a net benefit, so we might be getting more fucks. Well, I mean, we're gonna need a replacement for Sven, no matter what, but,
You're not sticking any more people in that bedroom.
I mean, you are a dwarf. You could...
I'll start bunking with you.
You know, perhaps we should hire an illusionist, and you can take my job and I'll take yours.
Somehow, I think we'd both prefer that, but not for long. Do you
Fuck,
want to
these
be out there with these
conversations
guys?
I don't fucking know, to be honest. But yes, we are gonna need more room. We're gonna need more accountability. I'm gonna need to learn how to fucking talk to people.
We should
Changes
both
are
probably
coming.
work on that.
Yes. So I guess prepare for that.
I'm nearly 200 years old. It's not the first time I've dealt with change.
Wow. I guess things are going well. Despite... obviously.
Well,
Just keep me up to date with whatever the fuck is going on with you all. Yeah, that's about it.
when you do talk with Quinn, you should ask him about a box.
You're gonna leave me with a fucking box?
Yep.
That's it?
I mean, honestly, it's about all I know, so.
Alright. What's up, elf? Have a fucking box, and he like hops off the cart. Right. So, as you all arrive into Messidore, it is very uneventful, I suppose, as the majority of this journey has been. When you reach the gates, Lindis would more or less kind of relieve you all of duty of kind of maneuvering the caravan. If we need to have this conversation, I can see if it's relevant, but if not, we can gloss over it depending on what your guys' preference is. But she would basically hold the caravan at the gates and say that she'll have Carquin family members come and get it back to where it belongs, and her intention is to go back to her family and divulge basically everything that has happened, and face the consequences of whatever might follow that. Is there any interest around that event?
On a personal level, I'm curious how that goes, but no, I don't think Primarch.
Yeah, as long as there's no blowback
Mhm.
on us from it, I'm not concerned. But there would probably, I'm assuming Camus would have had this conversation with her as well. But it's just her letting us know how she intends to communicate things.
The kind of going off of the general smaller conversations and her actions and whatnot since everything has happened and the journey back, it's very clear to all of you that she more or less has taken on like full responsibility, not only for the disaster of the caravan, but Sven's death as well. Yeah, and that's probably the best place to put it, is that is her perception of what occurred, and that's what she is going to communicate. So as long as the party is agreeable to that, I suppose there's no issue. So after the caravans are kind of handed off, and you are left with the remains of Sven. You all would be, again, kind of mingling around the gates, unless anyone chooses to depart for any specific reason, before Captain Kirith and probably about 10 or so men behind him come approaching down the road. I guess I'll switch you all over to the Messidore map. And we'll go ahead and pop our good old boy Kirith on screen. There we go. The approach, as you all are watching, is almost akin to like a parade march. The men behind him are in very clean files. Their steps are in unison with one another. He is kind of broad-chested and standing tall, and he's clearly put a bit more effort into polishing his armor and making sure that everything is in the proper place. And as you all watch on, his attention would be mostly directed at Primarch, which I imagine you're still mounted. And I imagine Sven's remains are probably on the horse or nearby, wherever they end up after leaving the cart. But he would more or less directly march up to you, the men behind him kind of stopping with this singular loud, like, clunking of metal footsteps. And I apologize that we are meeting under these circumstances, but I would officially like to welcome you to the city and express my deep regret in what has occurred.
Primarch would give him a short hand to chest, just quick bang, a nod. Agreed. Though I thank you for your kind words. I am glad to see the honor of the Alcabola is strong in this city.
It certainly was a surprise when your brother graced us with his presence. It is certainly even more of an unusual occurrence to have a second of my clan here. It's been quite some time. I would like to offer the strength and the force of the Green Hoods I have brought with me today to help set up the pyre for your brother.
Glory to the fallen.
I guess I should also officially introduce myself. I am sorry. Your companions are familiar with me, but I suppose you are not. I am Captain Kirith. I am a captain here of the Green Hoods in Messidore, though that seems far less important during this day.
I thank you. I am Primarch, Sutek Alcabola.
Whenever you are ready to send your brother, we shall construct a pyre off to the south in the glade, and you may tell us when you are ready.
I shall head that way now. Prepare his body for last rites. Turning towards the other members there of the group, gentlemen, if you would care to join us.
So
When you have time. I shall see you there then. Thank you, Captain.
Of course. Gamus? And they would pass by one another. So as Primarch, you are, I guess, led away or joining along the Green Hoods, kind of leaving the way that you just came in. They would set to the task of finding enough timber and whatnot to construct the pyre. Dragonkind being pretty freaking resistant to burning, especially the Acubola clan. So it is a rather lengthy process to go through departing one of your kind. But they diligently follow the orders of Captain Kirith and begin tirelessly working through the day to make sure that by evening or by nightfall it is prepared for Svenjamin's departure. I guess that leaves the rest of the party within Messidore or joining this process as they see fit. So tell me all what you are doing. I guess to make it clear, it is early-ish morning, getting closer to noon on the 2nd. So if that changes your intentions at all.
I'm going to unload this box quick as I can.
So you weren't given any sort of direction on how to return it besides, the general understanding of when you bring it back, they'll get it from you. So do you have any sort of way of going about this?
I'm gonna go back to the meeting place that we had in the first place, and I have no doubt that they'll know that we're back
Mm-hmm.
and come and find me.
Okay. What is everyone else up to at this point, or where are you at, I guess is the question.
I would have, when we got back to the guild house, would have said hello to Ayla. Ayla or Ava? God, no.
Ava
Ayla,
is the
Ayla.
orphan. Ayla is the secretary.
I would have said hello to Ayla,
Mhm.
assuming that she was in her normal place.
Mhm.
I would have went to the bedroom and just searched through all of Sven's, if there was anything left over, which I don't think there'd be much, but I just want to see if there's anything left.
A loose scale that's like gotten under the pillow or something.
Yeah, anything.
No,
Yeah.
he's got his erotic novel that he never finished still in his backpack. Just
Put it in the fire, please.
So yeah, just I'd be doing that, and then where is Ava?
So we'll go ahead and when you return to the guild hall, let me hop you all over to there. Man, it's been a hot minute since we've been in the guild hall. And it's not organized in the slightest. Fabulous.
what the hell? That little girl had so much time.
No, I bet as in who the hell is here and who isn't. Go ahead and do that real quick.
It was being haunted.
I haven't slipped up yet. It will happen. I'm jinxing myself, but I gotta. Let's go.
Which one's the elf?
Both.
I mean, both of them are.
I was trying to slip him up. God, no.
All right, let me make sure. There we go. So Brandon, are you returning with Thomas to the guild house, or is Thomas returning alone?
I would have been heading back to the guild house with the intention of just offloading everything, getting
Okay.
cleaned up a bit, and then heading back out.
All right. So as you both return to the guild hall, as you both enter into the, I guess, somewhat welcome familiarity of being home again, which is a strange way to refer to the guild hall. Ayla and Ava are behind the front desk. The actual area around her workspace appears to be clean, but still kind of disorganized. Like things have been dusted and put away and somewhat maintained. Ava would be in the process of kind of working behind the counter, which all of you have been banned from doing per Ayla. So it is even just a note to see Ava back there. God, this is going to be so confusing. Helping her or assisting her in various ways. As you open the door, Ayla would lift her gaze up, almost kind of expecting potentially Camus or someone else. But as she spots you two, the usual kind of like cheery smile that she has, or the kind of like welcoming hostess demeanor that she tries to embody, doesn't come as she looks between both of you and welcome home.
Thank you, Ayla, Ava. It's nice to see you again.
Ava's kind of like up on a table, like putting a book away, and she like quickly whips her head around, hops down, like, is Sven really dead?
He's really dead.
How'd he die?
His throat was slit.
Oh, shit. Can I see?
No.
And I'll just keep walking past them. Yeah.
Ayla would kind of turn very slowly back to Ava and I'm sorry, Braynoon. It's a sad day.
That's been a sad few days. Kirith and Sven's brother are preparing a pyre south of the city.
I imagine that Ava and I will be attending. Ava kind of will be there. If you need anything, I'm here.
I'll be fine.
Do you have the contract?
I do,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just gonna glance at Ava because I'm not sure I want to bring out 30 goblin ears with her standing there.
Let's see. Let me give. Oh, okay. Ayla kind of like sees the hesitation, and then I'm assuming you kind of look over to Ava. She looks over to Ava, is like, Ava, I need my stamp from upstairs. Can you? She's like, ah. And Ava goes hauling ass upstairs, leaving you two alone.
Yeah, basically as soon as she's out of sight, I will bring out the contract and bring out the ears, and by my count, we had 30.
Yeah.
And hand them over to her. If you don't need anything else, I need to get cleaned up.
Yeah. Sorry to ask. It's my job.
Yeah, I understand.
All right. See you this evening, I suppose.
And I will walk off and see what Thomas is doing.
Nothing crazy.
No, looking through Sven's bunk, I imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, wouldn't say anything. Just kind of get inside,
Mm-hmm.
get changed, that sort of stuff. But
So, Quinn, go ahead and roll me a perception. Actually, yeah, roll 2 perception checks.
see how good of a counter spy you really are.
20 and 23.
Bam. All right. So as you find your way back to the kind of the plaza outside the Remembrance Point Hall where you had made contact with your ex-coworker, I guess is the term for her, you kind of find yourself in the same position, milling about. You are easily able to notice that the plaza is a lot less dense than it had been following Passover. A lot of the celebration and fanfare and tourists and whatnot have kind of dispersed, and now it's the general kind of slow coming and goings of various injured people or beggars or starving people kind of using the community service, I suppose, to its full effect. I imagine, do you have the box, like, out? Do you just have it on your person? Like, what's your general, I guess, stance currently?
I'm painfully nonchalant, with the box under my arm like a book. Like I was just reading it in the park or something.
Mm-hmm.
I figure the more cavalier I am with it, the quicker they'll want to come get it off my hands.
Mm-hmm.
So just sort of like, oh, I have this box.
So as you're there for perhaps an hour or two, watching, waiting, keeping an eye out, kind of staying vigilant, very much opposed to your first interaction with her, you spot Muriel from across the plaza. I'll go ahead and throw her artwork up. There we go. She, as you spot her and kind of make eye contact, and we're maybe about 100 or so feet, she gives you this overacted kind of joyful wave, this large grinning beaming smile on her face as she starts like jogging almost like excitedly up to you, very much playing up perhaps like lovers being reunited or friends meeting up for some sort of dinner of some sort. You guys come together, she would like throw an arm around you and be, "Ah, Quinn, I missed you. Welcome home."
It's nice to be home. I'm gonna give it back double and actually like kiss her on the cheek and with receptions like this make me wonder why I ever leave.
I know, it's just so charming and fulfilling our line of work, but a gentleman such as yourself, you wouldn't come without a gift for me, would you?
I take the box from under my arm and I hold it out, and when she puts her hands to take it, I kind of pull it back and say, "Your line of work," and then stick it back out.
Quinn, dear, my lovely darling, our line of work.
I was fulfilling a contract, and here it is. All finished.
Well, whatever keeps you up at night, Quinn.
There's an opening. If you're offering.
Are you trying to seduce me, Quinn?
Is it really necessary?
Perhaps if I wasn't so busy and you weren't so bold about waving around our gift, perhaps we could speak more.
Hiding in plain sight. It's on the first page of the manual.
Oh, I'll have to touch up. It's been quite a bit, being so active and whatnot, staying so busy. Well, I do appreciate your full cooperation, dear.
What can I say? I aim to please.
Well, we'll mark that down as another check. She would take the box and kind of tuck it into her clothes. Well, I hear that you have a dear friend to say goodbye to today, so I won't keep you for long.
Aren't we forgetting something?
You think I'm just going to drop it right here to your feet? You'll get it.
One way or another, I always do.
Such a shame, working for money. But I guess that's what you do now.
It simplifies things. Leaves time in the day for other pursuits.
Well, you've always been a fan of pursuits, haven't you, Quinn?
It varies.
By the way, that tail isn't us.
Tail.
The one following your girlfriend.
Oh, right. So, if they turn up dead in some Missadori gutter, that's not a problem.
Not for me, at least. But consider that a gift from me to you for being such a dear boy.
Well, thank you.
I aim to please. Have a good evening, Quinn. I shall certainly see you soon.
Not too soon.
Timing is everything. And then she would take her leave, kind of boldly striking out across the plaza once again.
Whenever she passes out of sight or rounds a corner, I sort of lose the mask that I had and just kind of seethe for a minute, and then get on with my day.
And what does Quinn do with his day then?
Well, I'll attend the service.
Mm-hmm.
Go and get spiffed up. I don't. I don't have. I think I just have regular clothes. I don't
Mm-hmm.
have like one outfit, but like Ernest P. Worrell in here. But yeah, get cleaned up anyway, and go pay my respects.
I'm assuming you return to the guild hall to clean up.
Yeah, that's where all my stuff is.
Okay. When you return, basically as soon as you enter the door, kind of seeing a similar sight to both Braynoon and Thomas when they returned, Ayla would look up at you, catch your eye, but give you a look that like immediately gives you that feeling of like, shit. And she would, Quinn, do you have a moment?
I was just on my way to the service, but yeah, I suppose.
Let's go in the kitchen. Ava, stay at the desk. And she would more or less direct you to come into the kitchen with her before closing the door behind you too.
What's happening?
So Ayla kind of positions herself like 10 or so feet, basically the extent of distance she can from you in the small space. First kind of aimed away from you. You can see her fingers are clearly like fidgeting in front of her as she is, I guess, working through whatever she's about to say, but eventually turns around. And again, there is this very like determined look on her face, which is somewhat rare. Usually kind of seeing her is either kind of excited or studious or inquisitive. This is like focused in a much more distinct way. But meeting your gaze, I have very truly enjoyed getting to know you, but I would like to make it clear that whatever we have needs to come to an end.
I think I understand.
It's nothing to do with you. I think you understand.
Well, I hope we can still get a bite to eat now and then.
Yes. I won't. This won't affect a working relationship, I guess.
All right.
Are you okay?
Sure. Well, it was ugly.
I'm happy that you're still with us, Quinn.
Me too.
All right. I don't want to take up any more of your time.
All right. See you later.
Yes. See you tonight, I suppose. After you separate and the party goes about the various tasks for their day, I imagine it's a good point for all of us to accumulate at the service and go ahead and take our 10-minute break.
So in a kind of tamped down area, gravel, sand, whatever. Nothing else burnable, or I'm sorry, wrong word, flammable there in the area. The pyre itself would be shaped almost triangular or arrowhead shaped, pointing towards the thread. And as the sun begins to set and the fireflies come out, Primarch would take a station at the base of the arrowhead formation of the pyre, looking out over the relatively small gathered crowd. He would pull out his halberd and bang it thrice upon the ground, calling silence, and looking over everyone present. We gather for a lost kinsman. On this day, the clan loses one of ours. Blood of our blood, flesh of our flesh. We release you to ascend. Climb the great thread, brother. Find honor, find glory. What you did in this life shall reflect in the next. May it have been great enough to rise above. And then he'll pull a simple leather strap from his neck, and from it you see a string of scales, varying gold colors. He'll walk up and place it on Svenjamin's chest. Though lost, you were not forgotten. Are there any others?
Yeah, Sven was a good friend, and I'll miss him.
We of the Sutek thank you. And then banging his halberd again thrice upon the ground, he takes a deep breath, inhaling, slowly at first, then faster, taking what almost seems too large of a breath, and then slightly bending over into the base of the pyre. His jaws open wide, and you just see an inferno roar forth into the base of the pyre, lighting the oil and the tinder. And beyond just the sound of the flames rushing out, there's the hint of a deeply pained scream embroidered with the flames. And then he stands back up, one hand above the other on the shaft of the halberd, and begins his vigil.
So as Primarch bends down to light the pyre and release his kind of final call for his brother, Captain Kirith would begin very rhythmically and slowly pounding on this chest, reverberating that like a metal clang from his armor to the beat of where Primarch's halberd kind of left off, following suit the men behind him who, have spent several hours out here today preparing the wood and the pyre and looking over this presentation start pounding their spears, their tools, the axes they were wielding to help increase the effect, drowning out the majority of what begins as this kind of common, distant chatter along the road that is the southern limit between the council lands and the glade lands for the nomadic elves. There is a road that marks basically the boundary. A slew of the, I guess, occupants of Messidor have kind of lined up on it, observing the vigil from a fair distance away as the flames start coming up and the noises start. There's this, like, just kind of whispering of awe and, I guess, observation as they all stand there taking in the sight that is pretty rare. It might even be a once in a lifetime for some races, depending. After the lighting begins and the actual spark ignites, Captain Kirith would take the other side of the pyre from Primarch and also begin to take his vigil, determined to see it through to the end. Oh, excuse me. I guess what else is the party doing during this time?
So my intention is to stay there through the night. So early on, it'll just be what they're doing, but get back to me when you want me to describe, like, as the flames get lower and it's more approachable. That's when I'd have a little something else to do.
Okay. Brandon, Quinn, what are you doing?
Yeah, Brainerd's gonna join the vigil. Just stands at an appropriate location, probably a step or so back from wherever Kirith or Primarch are, and intention to stay there through to the end.
I'm just in attendance, but not making any. I'm just an attendee. Probably near Brainoon, but.
So, as the, I guess, minutes turn to hours and, night really settles in and the vast majority of the onlookers kind of begin to leave now that the main event has kind of taken place, also the cluster of Green Hoods that had come with Captain Kirith make their departure, leaving a much smaller group kind of left to see out the night. Camus would eventually...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, what's up?
I was just going to ask, where is this the pyre located again exactly?
As far as, like, on the map,
Yeah. Is it near the river?
No, it's probably about, like, there. If that ping is coming through. I don't think it is.
No.
What if I do... One moment. There we go. So, like, it's just off the main road, kind of outside the city.
Gotcha.
But anyway, eventually Camus would step up beside you, Quinn, and not make any motion to speak, kind of letting a bit of the energy of what's going on kind of linger for a bit for you.
I just sort of look at him and nod, and then turn my attention back to the sermon service.
Elf. I've been told to communicate with you when you cannot leave.
I can't leave?
You look like a fucking asshole if you did.
Wouldn't stop you.
True. I need to ask you about a box.
Ask me about a box.
Apparently, box... It's literally all the information I was given.
Who told you to ask me about a box?
The fucking fairies. Elf, I don't know what box we're talking about. Please just... What? What box are we talking about?
I don't look at me. Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out too.
Don't make me slap you at a funeral.
26 deception. I talk about looking like an asshole. Slap me if you need to, but I don't know. We need more storage in the bunk room.
Let me level with you. I know you're cleverer than me, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I don't know what you're getting into. I'm assuming it's something to do with what you're getting out of. If you don't want to tell me, fuck it, fine. Certainly isn't going to earn any goddamn brownie points. But I know about it, so why not just tell me what is going on? I'm not going to whip you or spank you or anything.
I think you must be having a prank played on you or something. I don't
The
have a
dwarf
box.
seems the last person to play a prank on me.
Who can understand the dwarven sense of humor? I sure as hell can't.
Well, half of me can.
I'm not half dwarven.
Me. Half of me can.
Oh.
Alright. If you don't want to talk about it, fine. I tried. Good enough. Good talk.
Sure.
Alright.
That's Camus's catchphrase.
And then I guess he would leave your side. Thomas, as you are also lingering around, Ayla would step up beside you, and she would probably last a lot longer in kind of reverent silence than Camus would, standing there for maybe even like 10 or so minutes without saying a word before eventually her head kind of tilts back and you can see her eyes tracing the thread across the sky. And, yeah, some of the dragonkind believe that the closer to Passover, closer in proximity to the thread, better chance to ascend.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. Uh, I don't think Sven would have held that view.
Do you think Sven wants to ascend?
Almost certainly not. I think he has a lot more fun down here.
Well, I won't be saying this to Captain Kirith anytime soon, but I certainly hope that he fails then.
Thank you for being here, but I hope you don't feel like you have to stay the whole night.
No, there's work to be done, despite what has happened. Guild has to persist, but I did want to be here at least for a while.
What do we have coming up?
As far as Camus is concerned, I think he put it as jack shit. So we'll see.
Amos is far too worried about the group, and I think about me especially.
I did try and warn you all when you first came in that Camus is a bit of a worrier, though he doesn't like to admit it.
Yeah, he seems to be a pretty good guy all around. He sure doesn't think he is, though.
Yeah, I would not try to express that to him.
No. I'd rather try to teach her rock magic, but
From what I hear, you might have. Kind of gesturing down to your divination ball.
Oh, I didn't teach it anything. You want to give it another spin?
Kind of grabs it and I'm no divination major, but I don't think a skull is a good sign.
Do you want to know a secret?
Sure.
Not that this is unuseful, but put it back in the robes. It's mostly just a parlor trick. It just shows what you're thinking about right now. But if people think it shows their future and they're thinking about something that they want and they see it, they believe that that's in their future. And statistically speaking, it's bound to happen more if you believe it's going to happen.
Perhaps
But
you should become a motivational speaker, Thomas.
I'd rather not, but have you ever done incense?
No.
It was one of the last promises I made to Sven. We were going to go out by the river and burn some shit, which we're doing right now, and get high. So that's what I'm going to do.
Do you have anyone who will go with you?
I don't think I need anybody, but if you wanted to, and certainly Sven would have approved of me getting high for the first time with a beautiful girl.
Oh, well. How about I tag along and make sure you don't
Uh,
start a
no,
brush fire?
I'll be fine. I'm only going to take a little bit.
I think I'll come with you, Thomas.
Oh boy, here we go.
See how long we can have a coherent conversation before you descend.
Look, if you're not going to join me, just watch me from far enough away that I believe you're not here anymore.
Fair enough. Well, let me go pawn off Ava then. I'll be back.
All right.
Right noon.
Yep.
As you are standing vigil, eventually Ava would come up beside you, kind of nudging you. I don't know if I'm supposed to disturb you.
Suppose it's too late for that now.
True. Do you want me to leave you alone?
Do you need something?
Yeah, I need a favor.
And I'll just kind of like glance at her before looking back at the pyre.
I'm gonna go babysit Thomas. I need you to babysit Ava.
Okay, so you all right? Ayla's the one that approached. I think
Yeah.
you slipped and said Ava.
Did I? Okay, I've been trying to keep track of it.
Either that, or I slipped and heard the wrong name. I'm
I
not
don't know.
sure.
It's the same
Okay.
thing. They'll just merge into one at some point.
The conversation might have got a little bit different.
Okay.
And I'm just gonna. I kind of look and like in my head, I'm going through the options of Camus is out. That doesn't work. I intended to stay here. What's Quinn up to?
Quinn?
Yes, yeah, Quinn.
I don't know, but we're taking a creating distance.
Like, Braden's doing his best to remain stoic and all of that. So, you're... And he'll just turn. He's gonna go find Ava and Quinn. He's just...
Okay. Ava would basically, throughout all of this, kind of be wandering around, kind of doing like lazy circles, almost like a kid stuck at a funeral, like knowing that she's supposed to be somber, but like climbing over rocks and like kicking grass around and like kind of, I don't know, just being there. So
I'm gonna do the, like, when I see her, I'm gonna do the quintessential parent thing where, like, I point at her and then point next to me.
she like
and then we go
kicks
off to
one
find...
tuft of grass, yeah.
And then we go find Quinn.
Okay. So Quinn, you are approached by, I guess, Braynoon and Ava.
I don't know what's going on between you and Ayla right now.
What's going on between her and Ayla? Or him and Ayla?
Nothing.
I
You
need you
really?
to take care of her tonight.
Of take care of Ayla?
Ooh.
Of Ava.
No.
Yes. And then I turn around and go back to my vigil.
Ava just kind of... What are you doing with Ayla?
Nothing. I don't know what that was about any more than you do, but it's funny. I never thought of you as needing taken care of. You're a killer. You've killed.
That's what I've been telling them. I should have been out there.
Ah. Well, what do you want to do tonight?
I mean, do you want me around?
Sure, why not?
Oh, shit. We could do... can you help me train with my bow?
I was thinking the same thing. We could both use the practice.
Clearly. So I heard you almost died.
I wasn't fully awake yet when the fight started. It was ugly.
Perhaps try being awake next time?
That's the general idea, but something went wrong with that.
I'm being an asshole. I'm sorry. I remember how scary it was in the cave. I'm glad you're not dead. I'm not glad that Sven's dead, but I'm glad you're not dead.
Me too.
When they were talking about it, I was listening, and they were saying that it was one of the wizards, and I thought it was Thomas, and I was like, oh my god, he's so young. But it's okay. Perhaps next time it'll be Braynoon. We'll see.
We're going to make sure that there isn't a next time.
Because I'm coming with you.
Well, that's not really up to me, but...
You need a replacement. And I won't abandon my watch. I'll take all the watches.
How did you hear about that?
I listen.
Well, we can't hold it against him because he's gone.
It sounds like there was some adult things with the one that came back with you.
Oh, Sven missed his watch because he was having sex with her.
I like you, Quinn. You're fun. Is that bad?
In this context, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it got him killed. But that's not the only way it can get you killed. You have to be careful when the time comes.
That doesn't happen every time, right?
No. Or else you and I wouldn't be here.
Oh, then Ayla wouldn't be here.
So, yeah, I mean, it was not the right thing to do. Even if there weren't any goblins, it maybe wasn't the right thing to do. But like I said, he's gone now, and you can't pay any more of a price than that.
You know, they say it's for adults, but it seems very childish.
I think there are a lot of other words that people mean when they let's just say there are better words.
I like you, Quinn. I like tugging your chain. It's fun.
Well, it's important to have fun.
Well, let's go shoot shit.
Let's.
What are we shooting? Can we shoot something that's alive?
I don't think we should get into the habit of killing things just for the fun of it.
We could bring it back, whatever it is.
You're saying you want to hunt?
Oh, we have a fire.
All right, well, if we call it hunting, then nobody should get too uptight about it.
Ayla was bragging that you killed a deer.
Oh, yeah, I did. I still have the pelt and the horns. I need to do something with that.
Yeah, let's go get another one.
Well, we might have to travel a ways out of the city. You should get us some snacks.
What kind of snacks do you like?
It doesn't matter. Whatever is in the guild house that nobody's paying too close of attention to.
So, like everything?
Well, we don't have to carry everything.
Never mind. Okay. Well, yeah, let's go back to the guild. I gotta get my bow, and then, yeah, let's go get a deer.
Okay.
Sweet. So, I guess all of you would witness Quinn and Ava heading off towards Macedonia. Ayla kind of like, okay. But unless any other conversations need taking place, the vigil would go throughout the night. Those of you who are determined to stay. Thomas, I suppose you would go and light shit on fire?
You know, I would as it became approachable to get closer to where Sven was, Sven's body was, or what I'm sure not much left, but I just take like, how do you even use the incense? I'm consulting the spirit of Sven.
How about, just pop it into the ceremonial pipe, if you were, and ignite and inhale. Or, if you want to be sneaky about it, you stick it in a censer and light it and just kind of waft it about.
So I think since I'm not used to smoking anything, I would have gone with the censer route, and I'm resistant to fire damage, so I'm assuming I can get closer to the fire than the normal person could.
Okay.
Um, First time in 2 months I've got to say that. Um, but I I get up as close as I can to the fire before it starts feeling painful, and I'll set up, my little picnic stand, if you will, and I'll have the sensor in front of me, and I imagine there wasn't much left in Sven's robe, um, maybe, and I'll divide it up in half, and I'll toss some towards him, and then I'll put the other half in there, light it, and just as the incense is wafting over me, um, that'll become my nightly routine of meditating into the fire.
Mhm.
Only
Honestly, as Primarch sees you tossing, the incense into the fire, he would give 3 quick taps against the ground and just give you a nod, understanding what his brother would have wanted and needed there for the afterlife.
Kirith would do like a very fake cough and tilt to his head.
the one time I get to do this in front of the city watch guard cabinet.
Go ahead, roll me a wisdom check with advantage, then an insight check and a religion check.
All right. Wisdom check with advantage is a 16. Right? Yeah, 16. What was the next one?
Insight and then religion.
Insight. Oh, good. And then that'll be a 17 for insight. And then I'll use my portent dice for the last one, which is religion. That's 14 plus 5, that's 19.
Okay. So I guess a question to raise first is, did Sven ever convince you to try this before, or is this Thomas's real first experience with this?
I believe this was gonna be the first time, right?
Yeah.
That was the
That's what-
discussion there at the barge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is the first time.
Okay. So as you are wafting in the experience that Sven indulged in quite often, to the point that it is probably a rather addictive vice and necessary crutch, you begin to feel its strange effects kind of almost offering yourself up to what it is trying to do and the various stimulations it's starting to form in your mind, then combining that with the now somewhat ritualistic prayer or reflection that you have during or at a fire in the evening or at night. You begin to watch the kind of smoldering or slowly dampening flames of the pyre begin to slow almost, where the general flickering and sparkle and crackling of the fire embers being shot up into the sky begin to muffle and mute the perception of your reality kind of growing tighter and tighter around the pyre, before eventually you feel your attention being dragged or pulled or grasped by some sort of unmanifested tendrils of some sort, and your eyes scan upwards, and where the embers had gone up, perhaps 5-10 feet from the pyre and then gone out, their light fading into the blackness of the sky, you're now able to see every single individual trail of an ember, like the shutter of a camera has been left on too long, and these long, thin, sporadic trails of light extend up into the sky, slowly kind of dispersing and scattering into this large cone, showing where each of these little flakes of potentially wood or Sven or a piece of incense has ended up. And as your eyes are tracing down each and every line, following each lead, kind of seeing where it concludes, some of them end in the grass, some of them end in a nearby tree. But there's this strange pattern that you're able to start recognizing as you are watching those standing vigil, which is mostly Primarch and Captain Kirith. You see that the embers that would have fallen somewhat nearby them, about 5 or so feet, kind of come in at the end, almost as if they're pulled in by the gravity or the essence of the figure and rest on their shoulders. And though there's no visible sign, you are able to identify that a large dusting of embers has coated their shoulders, the top of their scaled heads, the forearms of their clasped, arms. The other oddity that you are able to observe is that your companions, where they had stood, where they had had their conversations or moved around to talk amongst one another, came as still kind of in the periphery as well, all seem to draw these embers towards them in this strange way. Again, like where embers would have just landed randomly, have been pulled into each person. And as this strange image continues and you're trying to fight the foreign sensation of being under the influence of this strange incense and using your astute mind and kind of giving into the relief of not knowing or not worrying or not fixating on things as much as you might, you start seeing these plumes of smoke, seemingly without a source, rising up from the various people surrounding this pyre. The largest and thickest and most noticeable is the one rising up from Camus's shoulder. It looks like this large, almost like mushroom cloud is rising off of him, and it just grows thicker and darker and blacker the higher up in the sky you get. As you cast your glance over to Primarch and Kirith and those around, you do see these similar smoke trails rising, but in varying degrees of, potency, I suppose. This all continues just to rattle around in your mind. No real direction or observation or conclusion to be made, until eventually you see what you think is a face in the shifting shape of the cloud above Camus. It is hard to tell, it's hard to identify, but it's the recognizable symmetry of eyes, of a mouth, of a nose, and it seems to fade and shift and move and rise and fall in the air before, for the briefest of moments, you find yourself sat cross-legged, your head tilted up towards the sky, your horns kind of framing the last flames of the pyre as you are coming to terms with realizing that you have been sitting here for hours, though it has only felt like mere moments, and you are staring up at this gaunt, skull-like face in the smoke, manifesting in just a bit of actual shape, recognizable shape, and you see its gray skin, or perhaps just gray due to the energy that it uses, curling into the thinnest bit of a smile before it is dragged away by the slowly rising smoke and up into the sky, kind of leaving you perplexed or just kind of shocked or left there without any sort of conclusion, seeing all of that occur.
So, yeah, as I come to from all of that, I kind of glance around at everyone that, starting to look at Sven, or not Sven, but Primarch and Captain Kirith, and look to see if I can see any amount of dust on them that's more than the other people. Just curious, looking at that. Look over at Camus because that was concerning. But if I didn't see anything immediately, in the present that was concerning. I would just wrap up what I was doing. I'd take a look at the incense container and, well, good friend, I think once was enough. And I'll toss the incense container. You can have the rest. And I'll put that in the fire with them, dust off my hands, and walk back.
So it is somewhere in the ballpark of 4 or 5 in the morning before the pyre is more or less concluded and the remains of Sven are no longer recognizable, either mixed in with the ash in the air or the ash upon the ground. Primarch and Kirith stood their vigil. Camus is also still there, though he looks conflicted, if anything. There is this mixture of exhaustion and deep thought and concern and perhaps a bit of anger. He's emoting more than usual, perhaps due to his kind of faltering strength of staying vigil all night. Ayla would have eventually left after Thomas appeared to not walk into the flames after doing the incense, assumingly going back to her apartment. I guess Quinn and Ava will have to are you going on a multiple day hunting trip following this?
I had only intended it to be like for the night,
Okay.
but we'll see how it goes, I guess.
Okay, let me figure that out real quick so we can see how that goes. Are you taking lead or do you want Ava to take lead?
I don't actually know that much about hunting, so she may as well.
Okay, so you want to give her advantage then?
Yeah.
All right. Come on, Ava. Time to prove your mettle. Okay. Okay. So you all set off pretty late into the night, going back to the guild to get her bow and then getting some road snacks, I suppose. Going back off into the glade, she begins to grow quiet, perhaps thankfully for once, as she is focusing or fixating on the goal, almost like completely enamored in the need to prove herself, to like show that, she's not a kid or she could hang with the rest of you, that kind of energy. But you do see her moving with a deftness, a athleticism that is not surprising, I suppose, having hunted with her before. But it is odd seeing in such a young individual, or at least someone so naive to the world. But with the combination of her somewhat practiced movements and the green hood that she still wears, it's kind of hard to keep up with her. Occasionally she'll kind of dip into the reeds and you lose track and you have to like locate her through sound and reconnect with her. It is perhaps around midnight where she is beginning to feel flustered, feel as though this might not end well, that she might not prove herself, and you both stop to kind of perhaps chew on a bit of dried meat that has been left behind or is at the bottom of some drawer. Not going back till I get it to you. Right? Pep talk. Just pep talk me.
Oh, I'm sorry, what?
Motivation, Quinn. I need motivation.
You need motivation?
Yes.
I guess what I would say is you don't really need to be motivated right now. We're out here for the fun of it. If we find something great, if not, then we still had a nice time.
Yeah, that is true. Huh. Fun.
There's nobody else here. Listen, I'm not some hunting expert. I got that deer because it was my day.
Well, I'm gonna focus on having fun, but if we don't get a deer, we're telling everybody that I hit one and it got away.
Okay.
All right. So, using this astounding pep talk, which mechanically was her advantage, her, I guess her focus lightens a bit. She opens up to the kind of dynamic nature of hunting in the wild, in nature itself, enjoying a bit of the process more versus feeling the weight and the pressure of having to prove herself. And it appears to bear fruit as eventually, first you hear it off in the distance, those kind of long, drawn-out mewling noises that deer will make before you begin to close the distance and get an actual visual on it, finding it kind of across the clearing with a little bit of foliage and shrubbery between you, within line of sight of your dark vision. As you and Ayla creep closer and kind of get in position, she looks over, is like, am I shooting it or are you shooting it? Can I borrow your bow? Kind of grabs a short bow, which the long bow she still wields is far too large for her still. Kind of getting used to it again and appreciating having something more manageable in her hand.
I want to try to line up I'll use the longbow and hold it sideways because that's what Legolas would do. And draw it back as sort of the backup. Like, I want to. If her shot looks like it's going to be true, then I won't. But if it looks like a bad one, then I'll take my shot.
Okay. Come on, Ava. Oh. What do I want to roll for this? Well, I guess. What is a deer's AC? I imagine it's close to
Probably like
12 or
11,
13, yeah, or
12,
something.
10 plus dex.
Yeah. Okay. She releases her shot, and you're watching it sail, that split second of it kind of darting through the darkness, and you're like, hey, it's gonna hit, and you see it hit, and you see it like hit in the back haunch, like the leg of the deer, not landing anywhere near the head or the heart or any sort of vital organ, like clearly in a position where it is not going to bring it down, at least not anytime soon. So I guess that would be your opportunity.
Okay.
13, by the way, is the AC of a deer.
Thank you.
I don't have it on my sheet. What's the damage for a longbow?
Don't worry about
1d8,
damage, just tell me if you
I
hit.
think.
Oh, okay. That would be 21.
Okay. As Ava's arrow hits and the deer lets out this beginning of a scream of pain, the few deer kind of off in the distance out of line of sight from you starting to immediately bolt, you catch the deer like through the neck as it is beginning to start like trying to do its limp leap, not enjoying having an arrow in its leg. Your arrow proving a much more effective tool at bringing it down as it quickly begins to suffocate on its own blood and then crumples into the earth, eventually losing its life. Ava freezes a bit where you're at with this like this is good shot that I got. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank God I got it after you hit it in the leg.
I don't think anybody needs to know that it got hit in the leg.
Wonderful. And then she would quickly go like scampering up to the deer and then realizing she has no idea what to do with a deer and just kind of standing over it and like, Quinn?
So the first thing I'll make sure to do is that it's all the way dead. With a dagger, I'll just take a dagger and um, confirm the kill.
Mhm.
Uh, and how far are we from?
Maybe like a 2-hour walk.
Oh, geez. Okay. Um, so I'm after I do that now, I'm standing here looking down at it as well. I forgot how heavy these things are.
You can't make the circle that Thomas does?
No.
Fuck. Um, we can, what if we, like, split it? Like, don't they like, tie him up? We could,
Somebody refresh my memory out of character. Who did the butchering of the thing last time?
I believe it was me.
yeah.
Brayden?
I mean, we could just leave it.
No, we should have enough respect for it to do something with it.
We could bury
We
it.
didn't think this through, did we?
You're the adult.
Don't remind me.
What about the weird elves?
I don't think they'd be this close to Messidore.
I guess we could just drag it.
All right, I know what. We will make a litter, and you and I are going to pull this thing back to town together.
This is not what I pictured when I was picturing fun.
It's building character for us both. Now, go look for some appropriately long logs or branches we can use.
So then I imagine you guys would take the time to fashion a support structure for this thing to drag it home.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's doable. It certainly would not be fun in the traditional sense. Ava would find enough energy to complain for maybe the first half and then slowly lose the energy to complain during the second half. Kind of getting back to the main road, just like, and then dragging it up the main strip back towards town.
This is good for us, you know?
Is this like initiation?
Just a good workout. But also, it's symbolism, right? We also have to pay a price here.
You're losing me.
I'm just saying, we bagged the deer, but we also have to do a little suffering.
Is this a lesson?
For us both, I think.
Hmm. You don't seem the suffering type, Quinn.
Well, I just don't wear it on my sleeve.
Is there something beneath your sleeve?
It's a figure of speech. It
I know.
means,
I know. I'm being clever.
well, practice makes perfect.
Like, I don't know who you are. Like, Thomas doesn't stop. Sven, well, Brainun is grumpy. Camus is old and grumpy. Ayla's nice, and she talks. But when you talk, you don't say anything.
It's a habit. I used to do secret work for the city.
My dad used to do that.
So, talking, it's... Well, it could be frowned upon.
Well, we'd always talk when we were playing Dragon Chess. Have you played?
Once or twice.
I'm not very good at it, but well, I'm certainly better at you.
More than likely.
Dude, we could... Do you have any money? We could buy a set.
I'm waiting on a paycheck, but yeah, we could get a set in the near future.
Cool. And then we'll talk about things.
I suppose.
As Kama says, "Good talk," and then he walks off.
Yeah, don't copy Camus. He isn't very likable.
Don't take this the wrong way, but I don't think I want to copy any of you.
You know what? Good on you.
Especially Sven.
Let's make sure to keep the comments about Sven between us.
Oh, I'm not an ass.
I'm just saying it's easier than you think to slip and forget yourself and say something.
I'm gonna
And
say it to his
now
brother. He's fucking terrifying.
I'm talking about Thomas more so than anything. I don't know about him.
He's young.
I think there's more to it than that. But anyway.
Well, there's one troubled youth to another. He'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Alright, get this fucking thing home.
What parts do you want?
Do we not just eat it?
Well, we don't eat the skin or the horns.
Do you not just like put it in like a pot?
You just want the venison? Is that what you're saying?
That's the meat?
Yeah.
Oh, can I have one of the eyes? Can I have both of the eyes?
I don't want them, so sure. I don't know how long they'll keep.
I don't need them to keep.
You could have the horns too if you want.
Okay. I can figure something out to do with that.
All right, I'll just take the hide then.
Deal. So, as our lovely duo are making their way back to Messidore, I imagine you all would return to the guild hall after the vigil, being very early in the dawn, probably getting back to the Ember board around 6-ish, 7-ish, once everything has fully been like cleared and dispersed. Primarch, I guess describe to me how you're feeling and how you're doing currently.
So Primarch has had a roller coaster of emotions going through him throughout the vigil.
Mm-hmm.
By the time the last embers, I want to say, rise into the sky, he has gone through his 5 stages, forcing himself through them. Whether it was effective or not, man, we'll see. But he has steeled himself, looking toward the future. And so he's just very stoic, a little more reserved. He would have asked Camus at that, as they're leaving, if he can bunk with them for the night or, for the day. But for the most part, yeah.
Yeah, he would point out that their single bunk room is now taken up by an orphan child. There is a free bunk with the group, but he doesn't speak for it. He would offer to pay for a room at a tavern for you if you wanted. But I guess the most important part of that transaction is whenever the vigil is done, and you approach him, he would reach into a little like leather pouch at his side, and he would pull out what you would, I guess, be familiar with at this point, is the bronze token or the bronze badge of the Ember Boar or the League as a whole. And where like a blank one or one that's actively in use has the thumbprint of the individual that is attached to it, when that person deceases or their soul is no longer within Talora, the thumbprint turns into a skull and crossbone to then kind of signify that this person is dead, and that's when they go and retrieve the badge and so on and so forth. So this one clearly indicates the skull and crossbone, which Camus would kind of palm in his hand, look up at you, and I don't know if you would want this or if not, but I could mark it as unrecoverable if you would like.
I thank you. This was the last evidence of my brother's honor.
That's a bit of a poetic way of putting it, but sure.
Taking it, he would clip it underneath his sigil of the golden scale. There across his, I want to call it a bandolier, but I'm pretty sure that's not the right
like a
term.
leather strap or sash.
Yeah, holding his stuff, and so he just clip it behind it, so it's not showing, but it's pressed up against his armor.
And if you want to sleep with these fine individuals, ask the dwarf.
Thank you. No, I realize I should reach out to my family, and most likely better done in solitude.
All right. Well, it's been a thing.
Perhaps we'll meet again.
Hopefully not. Not
Agreed.
because I dislike you. Just usually I'm not a good sight to see. Anyway, yes, good talk.
And as he retreats, Primarch will just give him a quick salute.
You as you salute, he get like 3 steps away and like stop and like kind of like straighten up a bit and then turn back around.
And with a slightly higher respect for Camus, I guess Primarch will go find a room to get some sleep.
Mm-hmm. So now we are getting into the time of the more or less like 2-week hiatus downtime sludge thing that's going to be following this contract and whatnot that we've kind of previously discussed, but there's still plenty to go over, I'm sure. There are a few different things that I want to touch upon during this time frame that we'll kind of jump around to and highlight, but this is also the time to be let known whatever specific things you might be going after or trying to do.
Primarch got some stuff he got to do.
Mhm. There's
don't
a
know
kind
if you
of
wanna-
yeah. There's a big thing that we got to do that I'll find the right time for.
Okay.
But I guess the best question is immediately following the pyre and whatnot, and kind of getting back into Messidore. Is there anything prominent during that time period?
You mean on the walk back from the pyre, or
No, like the next day or two.
Right,
Oh.
that following day.
Hmm.
Does Camus say anything to me about his talk with Quinn?
I imagine he would actually have to officially debrief you all again, like once everything's kind of done and everyone gets back to the
Right.
guild. I would say that he probably would mention that at some point in a Camus way of like, I tried.
Yeah, at that sometime, like probably within the next day or two, Braynoon is going to give Ava a reason to not be at the guild house. If that means giving her money to go buy whatever she wants, that is what happens.
Ooh.
And he is sitting everyone down, Camus, Ayla, the remaining members of the group, and we're gonna have a talk.
Okay. I think that's fitting then. So we'll say Ava has been sent off to go buy a dragon chess set. And you all have been gathered in the guild. Let me actually throw you back over there then. Make sure all the appropriate individuals. I'm assuming you're in the main room.
Probably. I assume it's the only room that would actually accommodate.
Mm-hmm. You have your lovely office library thing. Thomas needs to be there. Camus needs to be there. All right.
And once everyone's gathered, I'm gonna look mostly at Quinn, but then also a glance at Ayla, and then definitely at Camus. And basically just, I'm done with the secrets. Everything's coming out right now. I don't care. Quinn, what the hell was that box?
No idea.
You might not know what the box was, but you know why you were involved with it.
Honestly, no.
Are the hooks gone? Are you done? Because that, I believe, was the impression we were all given at the start.
That was the hope. The reality is the hooks are all around us. That's how they work.
And I'm gonna glance at Camus.
Camus is kind of looking between you two, but eventually he would end his gaze over at Quinn. I imagine that you are a better judge of if we should be worried or not. I don't know a whole lot about your realm. Should we be concerned?
If you're asking if they're going to contact me again and want me to do something else, more than likely. But right now, the only thing it has to do with the rest of you is that we happen to be doing things together.
Don't think it's that simple. I am supposedly responsible for you. So if you get caught up in some whatever the hell you get caught up on, I think that reflects on all of us, not just me, but your friends, I hope, at this point. And then kind of looks over at Ayla like, you may want to believe that you're not here, or that your previous life won't affect us. But I imagine it might.
It might.
I think that's progress. Kind of looking over at Braynoon, like,
And the tail?
Oh, right. Not them.
what tail?
Oh, someone's following me.
You're certain it's you?
Well, either me or her.
As you
But
knock your head down towards Ava, you would see Camus like,
Ayla.
oh shit. Did
for
I
what it's
also-
worth,
Fuck.
there's a lot more reason someone would be following me than her.
Camus would kind of start his gaze around and... Is this... at night?
You may have to correct me, Nathan, but as far as I remember, no. Like it's
Well, this was you walking her back to her apartment basically every night after whatever you guys were doing.
so it has only happened at night.
Yes.
That you're
I thought it
aware of,
was.
at
I
least.
thought it was during the day at the first time, but
You
Could be
did
wrong.
have a tail during the day
yeah,
at one point, but
Okay.
That was from the guard.
right.
so many people trying to follow me who can keep up with it all.
Why
So
can't I have the notes?
I'll answer and say, this particular tale I think has been after dusk.
Camus begins to kind of close up a little bit, and you see Ayla look up at him with a very annoyed expression on her face. Camus, you said you would stop. I don't trust him. You know, he works for you, Camus. He's shady. He admits it. He's a literal ex-spy, Ayla.
It was you.
Might have been.
Well, my compliments. You were good at disappearing afterward.
Well, I'm glad we're all getting everything out in the air.
I'm confused. Was there some reason that I was brought here for this?
Because I want you to be aware of what's going on just as much as anyone else. The actions of all of us impact all of our lives.
Look, if Quinn, the box, he didn't know. I mean, he's a spy. He has secrets. I can accept that.
I want to be clear. I didn't ask for the box. I had that dropped in my lap before we left, and
And then you dropped it in my
if
lap.
you want to talk about people being affected, it would have been a lot worse if I had refused.
Well, because I'm supposed to be the leader of this, I suppose. Let's go forward with the operating procedure of no more secret spies, no more nightly escorts. Ayla kind of like... How about we just try and be honest and open with one another and express all of our lovely feelings?
On that note, I can't go into any more detail.
Oh, Jesus.
However, you should all be aware that I am working on an investigation, keeping Kirith apprised. And the one piece I will share, because at least 2 of the people in this room already have some note about it, it has to do with Ava's father.
Ayla kind of looks up at Camus, and Camus again kind of... I think I know what you're referring to. Is this the incident that occurred over in the Dwarven Quarter?
Really struggling with that being a dwarf thing and haven't given some of my word. I will just nod. I won't actually say anything, but I will just nod.
Well, damn, we're a fucked up bunch. That's probably not a great idea.
The other option is we throw Ava out of the city.
That sounds like a great idea.
I'll have you
She
know
won't
you agree
go.
with Kirith. But what are the odds that she stays out of the city?
Has
0.
anybody just considered telling her the truth about her father? At first, I thought it was a bad idea, but probably better to hear it from us than from some random person who doesn't
And
care at
that's
all
why I'm
about her.
trying to find answers so that I can give her answers instead of questions.
She'll still have a lot of questions.
And that's fine. But if all I give her questions, she is going to try to find the answers, and that's Kirith's concern. Because she's not exactly known or demonstrated since we've met her great self-control.
She is getting a little better. Camus kind of chuckles.
Is there any way we could convince her to... I could write her a letter of recommendation to the Spires. You understand what I'm saying? If there's somewhere we could ship her off to?
Why does she have to leave the city? Why does the captain want her gone?
If she could literally go up to a general store today and say, "Hey, I'm Ava Mornell," and the likelihood of that individual knowing something about what has happened is pretty freaking high.
So it's purely just to keep her from finding out.
It's also to keep the populace from reacting to someone who has been touted as one of the greatest criminals in this city.
Yeah, you all weren't here when that happened. That was fucked. I mean, you can't. It's impressive, but fucked.
And I just kind of glance at Camus and Ava, and 20 years is nothing to a lot of the people that live here. It might as well have happened last week.
Especially you fucking dwarves.
And elves and those half-breeds of both. On that note, Camus, I'd appreciate it if you start using our actual names.
I'm fine with Pointy.
Nah, I feel bad for you. I started calling you Thomas. Yeah, fair enough. Since we're being all touchy-feely, Raynoon, Quinn. So we have Raynoon investigating. Quinn is still a spy. Thomas, you're actually the golden boy for once. No pun intended.
As you're now wearing robes of purple and gold. So if there's anything else that would like to be shared at this time, it would be appreciated.
Ayla kind of shuffles forward and clears her throat. I guess if we're disclosing everything and trying to be as upfront as possible. Quinn and I have been in a relationship for the past couple weeks. We have decided to end it recently.
I don't say anything. I just kind of glance over at Quinn.
That's it. Well, all right. Good talk. Actually,
Might be my
okay.
favorite good talk ever.
Let me while we're all here, I don't think I'm not good at this. I apologize. I am actually trying, and I'm not being sarcastic. I appreciate all the effort that you all have been putting in, despite the hardships you have overcome, and the contracts that have not gone to plan. I am very proud of you all. Kind of. Well, that
Camus,
went over well.
thank you, and hopefully you can settle into your role as guild leader, guild master, and find some way of keeping communication open.
And for what it's worth, I think we're just about out of all the rookie mistakes.
Oh, you have lasted longer than some.
You know, as long as we're here, maybe this is a good time to talk about how these things are graded.
Yes.
None of the bronzes have seemed like bronze since the first time we worked together.
Ayla kind of like looks up and starts like flicking back through her mental files. Like there was the Kobold contract, which was bronze, and this one, which was bronze, correct?
Yeah, this one. Well, this one got somebody killed, and then the kobolds and the other monster. Did we ever find out what that monster was?
I believe it was some sort of experimentation by some draconic guild that's been operating in the area for quite a while. Seems to have been something that came out of there.
Came and took it, the head that we had after you guys left.
So it was one of a kind. It was a monster that nobody had ever seen before.
Speaking of which, I told Kirith we'd keep an eye out for such types of things in our journeys as well, and keep him apprised. Sorry, forgot about that little piece.
Obviously I'm not the one out there, but from what I can tell is that the first one of the kobolds was a bit of a blunder, but I was going off the information that I had, and kobolds are usually almost always classified as bronze unless they are defending a sizable fortification, or they're on a high elevation, or they're serving some sort of dragon, which I didn't believe there was a dragon. And the 20 years that we've been here, we've never even had a contract with Dragon come in. So I do that. That one, I guess, I suppose, was my fault. But this one, there is no sleeping class, Quinn. I can only go to bronze.
Yeah, well, I think what he's alluding to, or I think he's made plain, is that we haven't had a very bronze feeling bronze quest yet. They've all
Nice.
felt distinctly.
You handled the Steel Ogre one incredibly well.
Yeah, and then that's because they slept like they were dreaming of bronze quests.
I know. I'm a
So
little.
you determine. For some reason, I thought that would come from higher up. How does it work? How does the classification system work?
I am
The meeting we should have had 7 weeks ago.
I'm a threat analyst specialist. That's why I was at the academy. That's my job. That's what I do here.
Did you do really good in school?
Yes. Can
Because one of the bronze quests that we picked killed my friend.
Camus kind of like looks through all of you and then actually moves to interject for once versus letting Pandemonium continue. All of you understand that no matter what rank quest you go on or contract that you take, there is always a chance of death if you're a fucking imbecile. And I'm not saying that you are. I'm not saying that Ayla is blameless or that you all are blameless. We try our best here. Ayla tries her best. You all try your best. Failures will occur. Deaths will occur. Constructive criticism is best instead of throwing around jabs. And he kind of looks over at Ayla, who... Sorry. I honestly could give a shit about what the last contract was ranked because you all were caught literally with your pants down. Great.
I'm sorry. The person who would respond to that died. So
Yes, that's the point.
That is the point.
So, we can all move forward with the understanding that Ayla is going to try her best, and she is going to try and get as much information as she can, but it is never going to be 100%, and you should never treat it as such. And if you do, then that's on you. Wow.
Maybe some of these should be retroactively regraded. Maybe there should be some kind of system for that.
I recommend that for at least a little bit, perhaps take non-lethal contracts, collecting shit, gathering shit, procuring shit. Get a feel for working together. This is going astoundingly well.
What was the point of this meeting again?
I think we are trying to reach an understanding which is growing farther and farther away.
The hope was that we could, yes, understand each other and their motivations more. Because the fact of the matter is, at least, and I'll look to Thomas and Quinn, out there we've acted primarily as individuals, not a team, not a group. There are moments we have, but typically when things go south, it's because people are taking individual actions. And if we're going to have trust with one another, we also have to have trust with Ayla and Camus. This needs to be... The team is not just us out there in the field. Camus and Ayla are resources for us as well. And we need to make use of that more. And I will take the blame for not having done that. But for example, Camus knows a lot more about this area than probably anyone else in this room. And so it would be great, Camus, if we're headed out in a contract, you can provide us with some level of information, what we might expect. For example, on our way down, we dealt with hoppers. Never seen one of those before in my life. That was a terrifying moment.
Yeah, those things are fucking terrifying. Yeah, I could be more upfront with things of that nature.
And then perhaps bronze contracts that we go out and do will feel more like bronze contracts rather than steel contracts in disguise. We can do better to prepare ourselves before we go out.
Ayla kind of chirps up, and we can always examine a contract closer before accepting it. We could always talk to whoever requested it, or look into it, or send someone out to investigate before committing to it, or something of the sort. That way it's more clear, less surprises.
Intel is never dismissed. But that's what my intention with this is we don't talk until after the fact. And I understand that's exactly what we're doing now. But we need to do better about it. I need to trust that when we're out there in the field, each of you has my back in the same way that I have yours.
Did you have something to say, Thomas?
I thought the better of it.
All right, perhaps that's progress. Are we good here?
I think we better be. I'm not sure Ava's going to be too much longer. Speaking of which, we're going to have a conversation about her sooner than later.
It might be practical to deal with that sooner than later. If you're already looking into that, then maybe it could serve as a nice palate cleanser for what we have going on.
I'll speak with Kirith. I intended to anyway.
Well, I'm never one to play the emotional manipulator, but I think that if you get a certain other dragonkind on your side and bring him to Kirith, he would bend over backwards for you. And I imagine that man has some frustrations to vent, and he does seem the type to strike down injustice, or something of the sort.
I'm not sure I believe you're not the one to be the manipulator, Camus.
I've been deceiving Quinn this whole time. He thinks that I like him.
I'm not sure any of us think you like
never
us.
thought that.
But does that sound like a plan? Finish this investigation, figure out what to do with the goddamn orphan.
I think I can agree to that.
All right. Anything else now that we're all here?
I've said my piece.
All right. Braynoon, Good talk. Quinn. And Thomas. All right. And came as we go. So following that lovely communication powwow, what is everybody doing?
I'm going for a walk.
That seems fair.
What time is it?
We'll go ahead and say noon to be easy.
Go back and lay down and take a nap.
I am going to wait for Ava to return.
All right. Is there anything specific you're doing with Ava when she returns? Or just making sure she's out of trouble?
No. I have other things that I wish to... Like, if she comes back with a dragon chessboard, I will offer to play a game with her.
Oh, okay. Well, we gotta see the results of that, because if she wins, she'll never fucking let you forget it. She would return with a dragon chessboard, and also a few sweets and treats and whatnot that probably weren't in the budget, but you know.
No, it's fine. I fully expected that.
But yeah, so the way we've done this in the past, it was best of 3 comparable intellect checks or intelligence checks.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll go ahead and do that. I guess you would set it up in the main room. I imagine there's gonna be no spectators because everyone's fucking gone, but that's fine. I guess.
Oh, if I could be convinced to watch them.
To observe.
Where I need to find her.
I mean, you're in the main room. I probably would have heard them.
Yeah,
I'll come
Thomas
out. I'll
would
come out
hear,
and watch.
oh, dragon chess. This is...
Okay. Okay.
+3. Yay for being an Eldritch Knight.
All right, let's see. Are you ready, sir?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, with the board all set up, Ava kind of opposite you. She's like all jazzed, feeling real good about this. All right. That is an 8.
That is a 13.
All right. So as you begin, Ava's perhaps her eagerness or her energy kind of forces her to stumble as you're wise, you're stout, you're a dwarf, taking your time, laying the groundwork for your ultimate overcoming. You ready for the second one?
Sure.
That's an 8.
I got a 16.
Oh. I would
I'm
like
just
to
waiting
say-
for Thomas to portent dice me to fail the last one. I mean, I guess you said best 2 out
Yeah,
of 3, which
that
means
would-
I've
that would be
technically already
it.
won.
Yeah.
But I also see her taking the game to actual fruition. Which I would have rolled a non-natural 20 if it mattered.
No shot. She just rolled a natural 20. Okay.
So
I
she
think,
surges before she loses.
yeah. So as you are clearly taking the lead, putting your pieces in place, kind of everyone is able to see the 3 or 4 steps ahead that you are, as Ava is kind of working to catch up. Though you have her boxed in at the end, and there's really no way that she can realistically win at this point, she refuses to resign with any sort of grace, is like this almost inhuman fixation on dragging it out as long as possible comes over her, and it's just like dancing her king around the board over and over, and you are just chasing it, and every time someone's like, come on, Ava, it's over. No, and just keeps going until eventually there is just no more moves. She's in the corner, completely trapped, and you claim victory.
During the game, I would be asking Ava just to asking her questions of, you know, her life before the kobolds. Like, what was it she enjoyed doing? What was it her and her father did? What were the things that...
Like one of the most prominent things she'd mention is they'd play dragon chess quite often, being quite topical. He was like kind of the unofficial town guard, so like he didn't have like shifts or duties or a job, but like
Right.
whenever something came up or whenever something needed dealing with, that's what he was. So there were sometimes like a week where he was gone getting rid of some sort of animal that was a persistent problem, or dealing with some bandits that were trespassing on property or something of the sort. So she found a lot of like isolated things to keep herself interested. She was kind of known somewhat infamously around the town as like snooping or spying or listening in or eavesdropping, just to basically keep herself entertained without any other thing to stimulate her. That would be mainly what she would talk about, is like she would play chess with her dad, and then he would be gone and she would find other things to do, and when he was there he was sleeping or, you know, keeping the house in order, I suppose. And that was about it. Like, that was her life leading up to this. And I guess it would be worth mentioning that Thomas, you would probably notice this more than anyone, the golden tooth on the silver strand that you got out of the kobold hoard or treasure trove that you all fought your way to. She wears that around her neck like constantly, and it's like usually kind of dangling and visible. She would mention that her dad says is like the last like token or piece of her mother that he had, and that she died before she could remember her. So that's all she really knows about her mom. Like, all she knows is Yevaloon, because by the time they were moved out there, that's like when her
Right.
first memories were taking place.
That didn't glow magic when I detected magic in there, did it?
No. So, but yeah, I guess all that would more or less kind of be talked about, interjected, and touched upon during all that time.
Okay. Just, I mean, I try to keep it as casual in conversation as possible, but I'm making tons of mental notes during the time, and like as the game finishes, I'll make a comment of it was Captain Ebnum that taught me how to play this. I never once won a game against him. I'd enjoy to play again sometime, Ava.
Yeah, I mean, you got lucky. I beat my dad like twice, but he might have let me win.
That's
My
one
dad
of the
never
things
let
parents
me
do for
win.
children.
When I would play games against him, he said that one day I would win enough games on my own without his help, that he was going to take everything he could get in the meantime. So if your dad was anything like mine, you probably won on your own.
Yeah, he was really fucking good though. But yeah, I miss him. You guys are a pretty crap replacement.
Well, you're not nearly as good as my sister either, but you'll do for now.
What's your sister's name?
Ilana.
Is she wizard?
No, she mends fishing nets with my mother.
Okay.
But she's she's rather young. She doesn't really have a job. If you ask her, she's an artist.
There's nothing wrong with taking pride in your craft.
Thomas, can I beat you at Dragon Chess?
We'll see, won't we?
We'll
No,
do this quick.
Yeah, I'll get up and I'm just gonna place a hand on Ava's shoulder and go, "I need your help with something tomorrow," and walk off.
Okay. All right, Thomas. You ready to give me some intelligence checks?
Go ahead.
It's like trying to beat fucking Mastermind over here. All right. She comes out with a 12.
My rolls are going to be a 13 and a 16 today.
All right, so
So-
she has to beat a 16.
No. That would be a 20, but for the first one, and a
So she-
23 for the second one.
She literally cannot beat the second one. What do you get? Oh, yeah, no. Ava would be very quiet during this defeat. It would not help her in any way.
All right, now that we're warmed up, we'll do one more.
I think I need to help
No,
Ayla.
no. Look, you know I can see into the future, right?
I know you claim you can.
I knew I was going to beat you on that one, and exactly how.
Did you
But-
know Sven was gonna die?
Good night, Ava.
Oh.
And I'll leave.
And that is probably an awful but perfect place to end the session.